complicated and messy.
Yeah, especially if you're spending years of your life on the road, literally giving up your privacy, giving up like everything in order to make this thing work.
Right.
And then at some point you kind of realize that you're not really making money like the way that you assumed you were going to. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, after a while. Yeah. So those are the moments, and then I believe brotherhood stuff. That stuff can get worked out. That's the easy stuff. Not us, but it's the politics that kind of makes our stuff sticky. Our stuff could have been worked out. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm so excited about this moment that we have now for completion. Like now we're talking about, we've announced a tour, but we're getting ready to launch, the dates and stuff, and going to start the campaign for the tour that starts in the fall. Is it February? It's about completion, bro. You know what I mean? So I'm excited because it's something that like we get a chance to finish. Right. So I'm excited, bro. I'm looking forward to it.
No, definitely want to ask more about that.
Yeah,
but so would you say that the group was stagnating at all in terms of commercial success, or were you guys kind of at the high point?
Nah, the group was definitely not stagnated at all. We were getting ready. That next album probably would have been at least 3, 4, 5 million copies. We had just shipped 700,000 copies over to the UK. We're starting to, we went from doing a bunch of TV and interviews to now we're doing performances at clubs and arenas, and like it's starting to bubble. I feel like B2K would have that next album. We had our first #1 Hot 100 record with Bum Bum Bum. So it's crazy. Like, and that's all. Both these albums came out the same year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So we got the first album in March 2001, then you come out and you drop another December 10th. Shit, these guys always maximizing on their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but so did you? So you guys filmed, or you did everything for You Got Served, but then by the time the movie comes out, you're already actually broken up, or how did this go?
Yeah, there's some intricate parts, but like around 2003, we had just came back from doing our promo run for Bum 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 in the UK, right? For the new album, for the second album. And at the time before we left, I think we just finished the contracts. When we got back, we shot the movie. It would have been like late 2003. That was a big year for us, right? And then the movie. So between those last 5 months, things started to crumble apart. You know what I mean? I remember us showing up at the premiere. We didn't show up together. We had Marion and security and all these people that walked in, and the 3 of us came, and you know what I mean? The way they was promoting the movie, it was them over there promoting the movie, it was us over here promoting the movie. It was just, things were different.
Did people seem like they understood, or nowadays the fans are picking through your social media with a fine-tooth comb, and they're noticing before you want them to know?
They just want to see us together. I believe they, as time, unveiled, it, was revealed, like people were able to, put their story together, what they think. But it's a lot of moving parts. You got a group that's generating millions of dollars, a lot of success. Some people think it's always, this guy's jealous of this guy. It's so many moving parts. You know what I mean? That's why I feel like B2K could we could really do a freaking biopic. Like I feel like, and it would have to be 4 separate parts because everybody's life. You know what I mean? I'm curious to know, what like Amari's side or other boys, and some of my stuff is played out publicly or whatnot. But I feel like you bring all that shit together is what makes people still want to see.
I watched a whole Netflix series about Wham. I don't even know. Yeah, this George Michael had a group called Wham.
Okay, George.
And they actually had an unbelievable number of huge hits. Which people forget about it because it was like corny ass 80s music. But they had crazy huge records.
Big following.
I'm just saying that I think B2K probably could get more views than Wham. So I feel like for sure probably something like that coming.
Yeah, that bro. Listen, it's been a conversation, but respectfully, each gentleman in the group would have to obviously, what I'm saying, produce their. Hey guys, you're saying that right now. Obviously, you have to produce your story. You're solely responsible for it, and then we would have to collectively agree, which we will, and all have to sign off on each other's, so we all are, representing, and putting up the right narrative, and everyone's being seen in the proper light that they want to be seen in. Which I'm sure we work together. I'm sure we can figure something like that out. But I think that would be dope.
Right. Were you surprised by how big You Got Served became?
Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah, it's like literally like a cult classic. So shout out to my family. He's out there doing some amazing films and stuff like that, and having the opportunity to be a part of You Got Served, that was huge. The movie was called Dance, and the movie was originally written for Genuine, which was Elgin, Leah, which was Aaliyah, Wade Robinson, Dave, which was Dave Scott, rest in peace Dave Scott, and the dance movie about battling, right? And it was so dope because the timing of it was so. Remember I said how it was played strategically. The timing and alignment was just so perfect. That was almost. Since 2004, like that was like the new era of breaking. If you think about it, and the world goes like this.
I don't feel like breakdancing has really had a pop culture moment like that.
Since break, you said pop culture.
Yeah, like nobody, like something that makes everybody stop and pay attention to this like small stuff.
You don't think breaking did that back in the day?
No, I'm saying since.
Oh, since
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, because You Got Served, right? When I seen You Got Served on South Park, I was like, oh shit's out of here. I sat back and I was like, this is, then they made dance flicks, they making spoof films of it. Like, that was, sheesh.
Was there anybody involved who was like, you know what, this movie's fucking huge, let's keep this B2K thing going? We still have.
There was a lot of people that tried to step in to make that happen. I think the damage was done at the time. I remember sitting down with Steve Harvey. I remember, there's been conversations where, Amari probably had an opportunity too, where he could have said, you know what, I'm gonna do a solo album, I'm gonna go back and do B2K. I feel like there's a bunch of different parts, but there was so much damage, and I feel like there's a lot of growth that needs to transpire from everybody. And I like where we're at today. Do I think we left a lot of money on the table? Hell yeah. Jesus. And not just about the money. I look at people, and shout out to Chris Brown, the stadium tour, and look at, people and their supporters have been able to grow with them, right? So imagine all those years you just keep working. You get to grow with them.
You got 12 albums.
Oh, come on, bro. You telling me you're not in the stadium?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just about the money, but we do get in the business for the love, but gotta have money.
Would you say it was an ego thing that stopped you guys from being able to do it, or was it because ultimately Omarion just wanted to do his solo thing?
No, I don't think it was none of that. I would like to believe that
the Subaru Share the Love event is on from November 20th.
the stuff could be worked out, right? If my boy want to do a solo album, like, cool, we can go there and support you in this solo project. Same thing. Fizz had a record deal, Mario had a record deal. I feel like there was a way that things probably needed to be handled. You know what I mean? With all of the politics, personal relationships, transitionings, big movie coming out. These are so many different moving parts. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got different people, different managers, agents, different executives. You got different people in your ear that were in your circle. You're super famous. You got some bread. I would have to say it was, inevitable.
We always talk about how groups don't really work in hip hop. Like, would you say that's true in large part for R&B as well? Like,
would you say people would try to break groups up or try to just, kind of like self-destruct them? Like let's say, okay, most people say, okay, well, groups are gonna only have 2 albums per se.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do people start looking at the solo artists? Like, I knew Amari was gonna go solo before the group even started.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
so,
okay.
you know what I mean? So for us, we all knew that. Like, he was already a solo artist. He already had a Pops commercial. He was already, a backup dancer and doing, commercials, and like he was moving, he was working, right? You know what I mean? So I knew he was going solo. I know he was really sad about it because I don't think he was ready to go solo because there's a way maybe he wanted to do it. It would have been nice. I mean, he had a very successful run, very successful run, and that's really good for him, But imagine if, we were all dropping solo records, Like, I think there's an idea where the Pandemonium album, we dropped 5 different covers. Everyone had their first cover. I believe there's an idea floating around about all of us having our own solo albums. I thought that would have been dope if each B2K member had their own solo album, drop them at the same time with a B2K album. Never seen it done.
Yeah.
So that's the type of creative shit we had around us. You know what I mean? And, if they can get the Fizz done, the Fizz solo album done, and if they was able to get the Omarion album done, I mean, I was happy for everybody.
Is there an extent to which, too, it's also like, well, shit, we've been chopping this money up 3 ways or more once you count the managers and labels, whatever, but like, if I work on my solo career, I don't even need to be anywhere near as big as the group because I'll be getting 100% of the money, or, whatever, I split with the label and manager or whatever. Is that part of it, too? Because it's like, a lot of times you think of that, like, imagine being in Wu-Tang and you're going on tour and you got to split the money 10 ways.
You know what? You would have to... I was never, big on going solo, right? So I wasn't really thinking about that. And I'm a share. I believe in sharing, right? And I want everybody to win. I really don't win unless we all win, right? And, maybe I won't say that, but like, if that stuff's not implanted in your brain, how are you already thinking about that? You know what I mean? As a human, it could pass your mind. Do I think that was driven in our group? I don't believe that because we knew we were growing as a family. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's build an empire. And eventually, people will go off and do other things that they would like to do, but it's like, keep the mothership, you know what I'm saying? Together.
Yeah, I mean, I see that even with the podcast. The thing is that anybody who's experiencing any level of success is going to have people around them who are trying to convince that person that they should not be part of a larger entity. Because, like, the idea of being independent and going solo is so attractive to people, and I 100% understand that. But also, it's like, people who don't really have shit going on, I think a lot of times look at a person who's doing well in the music industry, and it's kind of like, well, whether they could verbalize this with words or not, they're kind of like, well, if I contribute to blowing up this thing, then I'm going to prosper in some way because I'm going to be able to be more involved in your career, whereas if you're part of this group, then your career is kind of in the hands of the group and the leadership there.
I mean, there's a lot of things that,
so don't really have shit going on. I think I'll be part of a larger,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah, I mean, I see that even with the podcast. The thing is that anybody who's experiencing any level of success is going to have people around them who are trying to convince that person that they should not be part of a larger entity. Because, like, the idea of being independent and going solo is so attractive to people, and I 100% understand that. But also, it's like, people who don't really have shit going on, I think a lot of times look at a person who's doing well in the music industry, and it's kind of like, well, whether they could verbalize this with words or not, they're kind of like, well, if I contribute to blowing up this thing, then I'm going to prosper in some way because I'm going to be able to be more involved in your career. Whereas if you're part of this group, then your career is kind of in the hands of the group and the leadership there.
I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, you have to think about what's best for you at that time. Right, you know, I mean, I'm sure a lot, not just in B2K's world, but I'm sure in a lot of situations. I was just thinking while you were talking about this the whole time, I just kept thinking about Bohemian Rhapsody, the whole movie, right? Yeah. I'm sitting there watching Freddie Mercury. He took the solo deal for $4 million. I think about Justin Timberlake's moment. You know, I wasn't in the group. I don't know exactly, but let's say if Justin's as an artist, he's growing and evolving, and he's doing more music, and maybe other guys they're not as interested. Everyone's like kind of going off to college. Everyone's kind of going on and and they're trying their new things. But what if this guy's still in the studio? What if this guy's still dancing? You know what I mean? You know, I believe that a lot of times people get victimized, and that may not be necessarily the case, right? Because if I'm Justin and like I'm like, yo, Adam, I need you to pull up to the studio. We cutting this record, or the stuff that we were doing. I'm not feeling that. Like I'm also like I'm really tapped in. Because maybe this was just it's different. That's like with Michael. Like, do you think Michael was like wanted to go solo because he was like because it was the money was there, or was he really, did he really not want to be in the group? Did he really not, the things pushed away? Was it really his dad? Was the music that he was doing felt more him? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe this is stuff that they didn't want to try. Like,
it's interesting because in retrospect, with somebody like Michael Jackson or Beyonce, it's kind of like we've seen them go on to experience such insane levels of success. That it's kind of like, of course, you had to leave your group in order to experience that level of success. But what we don't really think about is like, well, what if that success had been like contained within the group?
That's fire. Do you think? That's a good one.
What if Beyonce's biggest records were her in Destiny's Child doing it? Yeah, Destiny's Child would probably be the biggest female R&B group of all time.
So that ties back into what you said earlier. Do you believe it's outside influence that causes that to want to separate them because they want to pull you into another circle? Because imagine if she just never did solo, and she never did any solo album, and she just stayed in the group. I don't think she would have not been just successful, but people, because she's the lead singer, or you get that emphasis already put on that stage, people are already gravitating to you and putting you out. That's like if you came and I'm like, well, I'm not taking this opportunity if they want me on cover Vogue by myself, but I'm not gonna do it without you. Still force your group. She could have forced her. Her group is still there. She could have forced her group the entire time if she wanted to.
Yeah. But ultimately,
like that question, that's really deep. I mean, but isn't that for one human being? Like we do want to get into our own self. Like you build your okay, you work with this company, you did this in the past. This is your shit. Yeah. Don't you want to get in your own bag, basically?
And imagine if when I started this, it had been me and two other dudes doing all the interviews. But then as time goes by, it kind of starts to feel like, oh, like I'm the guy that's like really getting the good interviews, and maybe these other two dudes were just dudes that made sense for me to be doing interviews.
The world does that shit.
I mean, that's always what happens. Yeah,
that's just pure outside influence.
Yeah, but even like, let's say
like Boyz II Men is still okay. Wanye did some stuff solo, but Boyz II Men is still fucking popping and fucking eating. They're going tour right now.
Yeah.
They're still eating.
I mean, honestly, maybe part of the problem, maybe part of the thing is I remember when Boyz II Men were fucking huge.
And I'm the biggest selling boys group of all time.
But I don't think I could have told you the name of one of the members as just a fan.
Oh,
which is kind of different than like Destiny's Child, where it's like she was just like I didn't know the other two, but I knew Beyonce.
That's just deep.
Yeah.
Yo, this is the politics of groups. Yo, this is a whole like documentary. We can really get some boy groups and sit some people down and interview them. Okay, this is deep. The guys and girls.
Exception to the rule, rap wise,
that would be crazy.
Rest in peace to Takeoff, but before Takeoff passed, the Migos seemed like the group that was going to stay together forever. Because but they were all so similar, so on the same page. They're like related. That's like they had a lot of the things in place that would keep them bonded together.
Right.
Now, granted, even that
they just grew up.
Well, Takeoff passed, and then also
it seemed like they was already wrapping it up before they did that last.
Yeah,
record. And that last record felt like the goodbye record, right? Yeah.
Alleged girl drama. They all did their solo projects right before Takeoff passed, kind of a couple years before that. Yeah.
They were together like what, 15 years?
Probably something like that, yeah. I remember 2011 they came out.
People, all these different groups, man, they just go through this shit. I mean, it's an ongoing, and I believe people like groups. That's why we're seeing the success of these K-pop groups right now.
Yeah. Well, okay, but there you go. That's
shit is crazy.
You want to make a group, you go to a country that does not really
like 6, 7 cats in that.
They don't really care about like individuality in the way that Americans do. In America, everybody's all about free expression and creativity. You go to Asia, it's like, oh, there's a lot of concern for being a good member of society, a good part of the team, part of the group.
Right.
It's less individualistic. You go to China, you just don't see people wearing weird clothes. Just for an example, you go to a party in LA, everybody got a weird outfit. Everybody's trying to stand out. People don't really want to stand out as much as so I feel like the group thing makes a lot more sense to them.
it's real organized. And from the perspective of what we've seen the past, 35, 40, 50 years, like with groups wearing all the same clothes and shit, man, this world has changed. America's different, man.
That's facts. So, okay, the group, is there a moment where you really break up, or is it kind of slowly you separate and just go your separate ways?
Like, were there some moments?
Was there a blowout fight that
there were definitely some moments, like, no fist was thrown, but there was some arguments at, maybe a show, there was, but I feel like our arguments, once again, trickle down from the politics of the business. You get it? Because no one had a problem with some. I knew when this guy was doing something solo or this guy was doing solo. I don't believe we had that many problems that we couldn't work out. I feel like it was the politics of the business and the agendas of how the world was pulling. You know what I mean? There's just ways to go about things.
Do you remember the last time that you guys were all together before you spent a long period of time apart? Obviously, you're relative now, but
I remember those times. It was sad, especially as brotherhood. It felt like our brother was